Welcome back, Dream Media Colorado. It is Chase. We are here in Breckenridge today. A little bit of a change in scenery. We're not at a client's house today. We're at my own home up here high in the Rocky Mountains. Maybe I'll give you guys a pan around to see. Beautiful neighborhood. So what we're doing today is we're going to build a mock-up window frame for a dual roller as well as a single roller side by side. So this piece of wood we have laid out here is going to be my base for the table, and these 2x6s will be the infrastructure. So not really an install today, but I figured I'm taking this course this week, I'm building the frame, installing the shades, setting up the processors. So I figure why not shoot some unboxing content on all this Lutron gear while we go through this training, since I have the gear at my house anyway. You can see I've got the instruction guide here on my iPad, as well as some tools around me. So thanks for joining with me. This should be a fun little mock-up project at my house. Excited to have you guys join. And yes, it is below freezing outside. We're up here on my deck because we have gotten 82 inches of snow roundabout near my house already this winter. So it's about 4 feet deep in the yard. Maybe I can bring you guys over and show you. So normally back by my shed where I would be doing woodwork, pretty much all I've got is parking spots for my trucks, and that's it in the lot. So we're up here on the deck doing a little early winter carpentry up here in Breckenridge. So without further ado, we're gonna get going. This should be really informal, probably gonna be a lot of it time-lapse, broken up into chunks. And we'll go ahead and knock this out. It should be a pretty simple build. This piece specifically is getting cut into 2 4-piece segments to be flipped up on its side and support the window frame, whereas the 2x6s will have 2 55-inch headers, as well as 3 35.25-inch with studs to build out 2 separate window frames that are conjoined. I will probably come back at a later date and do this with some really nice treated lumber, go ahead and stain it, put valances on, and display this in our showroom down the line. But for today, we're getting rough and dirty. This doesn't follow their specs exactly, but this is the lumber I was able to source in the winter up here. And at my house, we are roughly at 9,800 feet. So we're pretty up there even for Colorado standards. So let's dive in. I could have easily done this off camera, but we're gonna go ahead and switch the saw blade on camera. Just, you know, these are simple little tips. Maybe you bought a circular saw, it came with the blade, you haven't had to change it yet, so you may not know. Before working with any bladed tool, okay, disconnect the battery, make sure the tool is not holding a charge. These tools, while they're getting better, just be safe. So what we're gonna do with this, and again, this is rough lumber. It's already beat up and about the best lumber I can find. So you'll set your saw down. Up here on the top, there's a little trigger, and that's gonna lock the blade in place. Sorry, that might be too far down for you to see. So all we're going to do is lock that into place and then go ahead and break this bolt. Now at this point, I've got this bolt here that'll come out, as well as a spacer washer that really is what grabs the blade at the end of the day. So we're going to set those aside. Don't lose those. No tool manufacturer makes them cheap to replace. You'll pull back your blade guard here, and then just be careful, your blade will come right up and out. So this isn't a bad blade. It's just seen a lot of mileage thus far. So we're going to go ahead and get a brand new framing blade on our saw. And if you've never done this before, make sure you put the blade on right. Okay, so it may seem a little counterintuitive, but you're gonna want these teeth going away, pointed out this way, if that makes sense, because that is going to be what's chopping the wood. So anyway, I'll show that with the way the blade spins here in a moment. All right, so we've got that blade on. Obviously set this down on a table. I'm just trying to make this as visible as possible for you guys. Okay, so you get that into place. Then we'll go ahead and switch the direction of our wrench. Get our saw somewhere nice and sturdy, preferably sturdier than this. Press my blade lock, which is back here. And then we're gonna tighten this pretty good. Don't blow it out, but get it nice and snug. All right, now that my blade is done, blade switch is done, we're assembled, we can put the battery back on because we're not scared of the tool. And so as you can, you're not gonna be able to see this well, but when the saw spins, the teeth are coming out. You know, if I had put this on backwards, I'm not getting any teeth contact, and you're gonna burn more wood than cut it. It still will cut. It's just gonna be a brutal process for you. Okay, so as I can say, you know, there's 48 inches of snow in front of my shed right now. So I'm missing a lot of my typical wood tools. But what we're gonna go ahead here and do is use the opening of my staircase here to support our cuts. So we're gonna go ahead and get this measured out, 2 48-inch cuts. If you do a lot of woodwork and you're not using one of these Hultifors, anyway, just a really nice carpentry pencil, kind of mechanical style there, and with a sharpener on the back of the pouch. I like this. It's I haven't lost it. That's the biggest thing with loving this pencil, and being able to sharpen it right there, get really consistent lines. I have come to enjoy it more than a standard carpentry pencil you may be used to. Actually, so first things first, we bought raw lumber. We're going to edge the lumber. The lumber definitely doesn't have a good edge. They never come from the factory with perfectly square edges. You may get lucky, don't trust it. Just go ahead and re-square your end. So what we're gonna be doing today, because I don't have my chop saw, is we're gonna be using a right angle or a speed square in conjunction with a saw. And if you look at your saw here, we've got some measurements on it, okay? 0 is right where the blade hits. So we can kind of play around with this and offset it with the speed square to make sure we're getting an exact cut every time. It just takes more work than a chop saw or a table saw. So first things first, I'm gonna get a rough measurement on where my speed square needs to be. So actually what I will do is I'm probably gonna cut this segment short, go grab my other camera and see if I can't get something up over there for you guys. So we can kind of get 2 angles, because I'm gonna be facing away from you most of the time. So what we're gonna do now is we got the 10x2 supports cut. So now we've got our 2x6 for the rest of the framing. So all we're gonna do is square off this edge here. It's probably a little hard to see. Some piece of machinery, something happened to the edge of this piece of wood while it was in transport. So we're just gonna square off that edge. Then we'll go ahead and cut out a 55-inch header, as well as a 35.25-inch support on the structure. See if we can't bust this out while I still have the sunlight, or get before this camera angle is completely blinded by said sun. So get a move on it here. So again, all I'm measuring here is just enough to cut off the damage, making sure this speed square is butted, and still is, so that we get a nice factory edge, nice squared edge. Good bit of knot there, so you may have seen this saw try and pull up on me a little bit. That's what I was talking about by kickback. Just making sure you're paying attention to your tool at all time. It is a very fast spinning blade. .35¼ boards. Okay, and as I said earlier, once you cut the first one, we will be using that to measure the rest of our cuts today, since we're cutting everything with a circle saw. So obviously I'll have less board left at the end. Just double check you up. We are using our squared edge that we made. All right, here's the fun part. Where's the big clamp? So this is what I mean when I said we were going to leverage our last board that we'll cut on the bottom here to make our cuts go a bit smoother now. All right. Okay, maybe cut it close. So we're probably going to cut this board in this direction. We'll just line it up this way. Should have had my other clamps first. Once you let something go, it'll never be the exact same again. Little speed square. I mean, guys, you couldn't get it closer with the chop saw. That was probably one of the best cuts I've ever made. All right, so next step, we actually won't need this support again to roll this big board. So what we're going to do is leverage one of our 55 inches to cut the smaller board here, and then we'll make our last cut out of that full length board. Again, since we've made a cut, I'm no longer using a tape. That would get us into more trouble than it would help. And as you recall, this is our 55-inch header, but right now. He's just going to be a buddy to help us get an easier cut. There's our already cut. And there's a bit of a here's a little bit tutorial on how not to cut wood square and still get square wood cuts. Alright, so we check this board for continuity now. Nice. So they're all in line, kind of accounting for the bit of warp and bend they have. All right, guys, so I'm going to take a break. Touch base with a couple clients, then we will get back out here and we will assemble this frame. Oh, all right, guys, so we're back. We've got our 55-inch header laid out for our instructions here. We'll go ahead and measure 26 3/4 in from each board. Just to make sure 26 3/2. So what we were doing right there was just lining up exactly where our middle stud is going to fall. The studs are going to be these 34 and a Q pieces that we worked on together earlier. So essentially what will happen is we'll have one here, one there, and one on that edge. We're going to square everything up real nice. We're going to get it bound. I'm going to have to angle the cameras down so you guys can see me work on the ground. We'll get our pre-drills in. We'll get this squared away. Then once this is squared on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and get our top header on, square that, and then we'll attach the whole assembly to our 2x10 stands there on the bottom, and we'll be good to go. So per their instruction, I'm going to run inside real quick, grab some T-braces, some L-braces, some wood screws, a impact drill. If you can use a hammer, just use a hammer. I'm just going to use 2 impacts because the hammer drills I have with me today on my truck are a little overkill for this. I don't want to blow anything out, and I feel like I have better touch with my impacts. Actually, if you don't feel like you have that touch, just go ahead and use the standard hammer drill for this. I'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, so we've got our boards cut here. So now that we've got it aligned from the front, it should be pretty easy to mark from the back. So we're just going to line up our stud with our header here. And since I've got T-braces, we're going to go towards the center of the board a good bit. we're going to be able to copy those measurements as far as where the screws are hitting the board on down pretty easily. So. So we've run into our first problem, and it's that with all the salt, my deck is not even close to being level. So let's see if we can. Side of here. Screws here. Trying to keep that tip box from falling into another one. Okay, you can see the board is hung level. It's just sagging a little to the left because of how it's mounted at the moment, but that'll shear up once we get our end caps on. So I'm just going to double check this left to right measurement really quick, and then we're going to pop on these other two end pieces. 63 Qs. Alright. So as I said, this is going to be our top. So I'm going to add something for our less ideal lumber down the bottom. It'll be really nice and easy to square this out with our top pieces on. So as you can probably tell by now, I don't have any wood sticking out. Move this over to make sure you guys Let's see what I'm trying to show. So, as it may be easy to tell, there's nothing going past me, so I can't use two squares to level myself out. Square myself out really nice, the way I did before. So in turn, what we're going to do go ahead and lay this top brace here like that. And because I have a good idea of where our holes are, just need to hold this in place for a second. Two down, one bottom support on the frame to go, and then we'll get the top done. Again, just getting rid of some eco-friendly salt that keeps my porch from being an icicle like the rest of the neighborhood around me this time of year. So I said we were gonna use the bottom here. It's the bottom of our bracing. And that's all good. So we're gonna go ahead and get a center mark on here and then go ahead and tack both boards on like that. All right guys, welcome back. So it got dark outside. It is very cold. So we're gonna go ahead and put our end caps or leg braces on this mock-up double window frame. So we've checked that we're all squared. We meet all minimum requirements, even dealing with the warped lumber. It just took some finessing between the anchors and the L's. So the only thing I did off camera was mark 2.5 inches down from either side of this base here. And so now I'm gonna pull one of our legs on, grab a speed square and a tape real quick. All right, and then we're gonna finish this out. So we're just gonna confirm this should be exactly 4 feet long here. Yep. So obviously 2 feet, 24 inches, dead center. And then I also want the middle of the board. All right. All right. There is our mock-up Lutron window frame. So over the course of this week, we'll be unboxing a Lutron processor as well as a single in a dual roller shade and break down that entire process. We'll go over fabric types, motor choices, and just kind of break down the Lutron catalog a little more. I'd love to come back and do the same thing for Screen Innovations at some point, but thanks for joining with me, and we'll see you tomorrow.